Welcome to Stampin' Fun Friday. This week's card features using a small stamp to create your own backgrounds. I use a lot of the design block stamps, especially from Hero Arts, that cover the entire background of a standard size card. But sometimes you may not have the exact design that you want or need, and you might want to create your own custom design. And this is how I quickly and easily do that. This week I'm using some stamp sets, some clear stamp sets from American Crafts, and I took this small heart design. It's from one of the letterbox clear stamp sets. It will be linked on my blog post for today. And I'm stamping with some White Memories ink on a craft card. And this is just an 8.5 by 11 piece of craft cardstock that I've cut in half lengthwise, and then I scored it and folded it in half so that the card will open from the bottom. So I like to start in the middle of the design. Oh, I turned on the light because I was getting a whole lot of glare there with the camera. You can still kind of see it, sorry about that. So I started in the center, and then I stamped another heart right next to it. And it's going to vary depending on what design you use. I also used a fleur-de-lis on the other card that I'm sharing on my blog. It's not in the video. And for it, I kind of rotated the stamp 180 degrees to make it work together. So it's just, you kind of have to play with your stamps a little bit to see what works good. So I'm stamping them in rows, but you can see that the hearts kind of fit together in design. And there's what it looks like after I have it all stamped. And I really love the look of this White Memories ink on craft cardstock. It's a nice subtle stamp look, but it's really pretty. For the blue today, I am using this crystal blue ink, from Close to My Heart, and I'm taking another American Crafts stamp set, also from the Letterbox collection, and this has got a small little row of flowers, and the little flower design just happens to match the flower design in the heart that I stamped. And I'm going to just take a scrap of white cardstock here, and I'm using my Fiskars stamp press. I really like that I can kind of line it up, the design up with the lines on there, and line that up with my paper. And I am just going to stamp, there's my first row, I'm going to ink that up again, and then you can see I'm going to just fit that right in between the first one. So they're kind of alternating a little bit. I'm fitting the stamp together to create my own pattern. Just like I did with the background paper, now I'm creating another little pattern paper. And there's what it looks like after I stamped it all up. And I'm going to trim that down to just a narrow little row, about a 1.5 inch by 4.25 inch, and I can use the rest later. Now I'm taking this little label, and it's from another coordinating stamp set for the Letterbox collection. I think there's 3 or 4 stamp sets that match in this American Crafts collection that match their papers and stuff. And I just stamped that with some Memories black ink. And then I'm going to take my scissors and cut that label out. The next thing I'm going to do is stamp a couple more labels, and this one has my actual greeting. And I'm going to stamp it a couple times. I'm going to stamp it once with the black Memories ink. I'm going to clean that off, and then I'm going to stamp it again with the crystal blue ink from Close to My Heart. Grab my ink here. And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm going to punch these out in a couple different sizes so that I can layer one piece of the design on top of another. It's just a fun way to get more color and more dimension out of your stamped images. I'm taking a 1-inch circle punch, and I'm going to punch out my greeting out of the black, just kind of that inner circle area. And this is a 1.5 inch circle punch, and I'm going to just punch out that entire label of the blue that I stamped. And then I'll add some foam adhesive here in a little bit and adhere these pieces together, but that's what it's going to look like when it's all adhered together. Now I'm ready for the embellishing part of the card, and I'm just going to add a little adhesive along the top edge of my little blue flower pattern paper here, stamped pattern paper, and I'm going to adhere a little red rickrack behind it. And these are just, I've just grabbed some random things and kind of seeing what I like and what works together. So I'll adhere the rickrack along the top and the bottom. And I haven't trimmed it yet because I still need to add a few things, and then I'm going to machine stitch those ribbons and trims in place so that they don't move. I'm going to take a little adhesive and adhere that little scrap of scallop trim. I've made that trim last forever. I think this is the last of it. I've used it a couple times recently, but I've had that for a really long time. I think it was a Making Memories one, and I think it's almost gone. I just loved it. Kind of hoarded it for a while. Okay, I'm going to trim that up, and then I machine stitched along the top and bottom. And there you can see a little bit that I machine stitched those in place. I like to do that a lot. Just it adds some nice texture, but also it holds those trims in place so that when you mail it, you don't have to worry that maybe they'll fall off or the adhesive will come loose or whatever. Now I'm just going to take a little bit of craft color jute string and wrap that around the top edge there. And then I'm going to thread it through a couple of buttons, and I'm layering these buttons. The blue button is from Paper Tray Ink, and it is a little bit bigger than the little red flower button, and it's from Stampin' Up. And this is just a fun little way to add a pop of color and a little bit of interest to just, regular, instead of just how you can, adhere regular buttons. I just thought this would be a fun little twist to layer these like this. And once I get that all threaded through, I'm going to tie that in a bow. This is one of my all-time favorite color combinations, craft and that blue and red. This is a memo pin from Tim Holtz, and these are so fun to add little elements to cards and such. And I am just going to tuck that right through my trim and back behind that little flower border, but not on the inside of the card. So it tucks that little sharp in underneath, and you don't have to worry about that poking anyone. Add a little adhesive on the back of this circle and adhere that right over my other label. And then I put a few pop dots behind the smaller punched out circle, and I'll adhere that right on top. Got away from me, there we go. And you can see that just adds a nice touch of color to the design. I was feeling like my greeting didn't have quite enough red, so I found this older little red epoxy heart brad from Making Memories in my collection, but I'd already adhered everything down to my card. So what I did was I took my Tim Holtz scissors and I just cut the backs or the little prongs right off of my brad. So easy to do, you don't even have to apply much pressure. I love these scissors, they cut through anything. I'm just going to add a little bit of glossy accents and place my brad right underneath the greeting. And that adds a nice little touch of color to the little label of the card. Thanks for watching.